Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me ask a question first regarding the Coast Guard. Within the first 7 days after the explosion, Admiral, how many Coast Guard vessels were directed to that area in the Gulf?
I think there was 3, sir. There was the initial search and rescue, in which there was at least 2, and mostly we were searching.
Were those helicopters or the vessels?
Yes, sir. Well, we could reach that location from shore, right, from Mobile and from Air Station New Orleans.
Okay. How many ships were directed to that area?
And there were, I believe, 2 patrol boats. Okay. And then shortly after that, within those 7 days, there was a 270-foot medium endurance cutter. Okay.
Now, 37 days later, how many Coast Guard vessels have been directed to that area?
Sir, we have a class of 225-foot buoy tender, which was built in the early 90s following Open 90, which is equipped with skimmers.
Okay, but just how many vessels?
And there's been a total of 4 different vessels of that class, okay, operating at different times, no less than 2 at any given time.
Well, having been in the Army, I know you can't question an order by the Commander-in-Chief, but let me ask you, was it your recommendation that the administration do as it is now put forward, and that is to cut the Coast Guard by $75 million, which would mean nearly 1,000 personnel less, 5 cutters less, and several less aircraft? Was that part of your proposal?
Sir, that is in the 2000.
Oh, I know it is. I'm asking if that was your proposal.
I'm not the budget officer of the Coast Guard right now. I'm the director of operations.
But you think that's a good idea?
I have no comment on the budget, sir.
Let me go over to the MMS. Was the blowout preventer on this well tested within 2 weeks of it actually blowing out or malfunctioning?
We believe that it was.
You believe that it was. You have the authority to check with people at the MMS to find out whether or not they tested this blowout preventer?
The blowout preventers are tested by the operator, not by MMS. MMS reviews blowout preventer tests, sometimes observes them, but they're conducted by the operator and maintained in the operator's documents.
So if BP says we've tested it, take our word for it, it's great, then that's what you do?
We have obtained documentation from the operator, but we observe some tests. We do not observe them all.
But you take their word for it that they tested and
they are required to maintain documentation of numerous testing requirements on drilling rigs. Since we're not there every day, we don't observe every test.
Well,
and if they were to lie to us, they'd be subject to criminal penalties.
Right. That wasn't my question. How many? Well, yeah, there's a lot of criminal penalties that may go around here by the time we're finished with this operation. That's not the issue. The issue is what did whom do and when did they do it or not do it? And so I'm wanting to know, is it true that BP was given a waiver of a mitigation plan for this kind of blowout by MMS?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, so they
BPA has an oil spill response plan for the Gulf region, which covers this kind of incident. And when this exploration plan was approved, it was approved with the knowledge that the blowout scenario within that oil spill response plan was sufficient to cover this particular
so you were satisfied with the
discharge.
blowout response plan that was provided by BP. I get it.
We approved it. I will say that we are now reviewing what the standards are for blowout response plans and whether they ought to be revised along with all our other regulatory. We are reviewing all of our regulatory standards as a result of this incident.
Well, now, the New York Times in their article about MMS said, quote, that it was an agency, quote, widely recognized as one of the most dysfunctional in government. And some of us that have either been in the Army or done different things for the government, we know, like for the last 2 nights, I haven't gotten more than 2 hours sleep either night because I had a lot to do to prepare. But as I understand it, the MMS is the only unionized group within the Department of the Interior I'm wondering, does the union have restrictions on how much travel these inspectors can do, how many hours a day they can work?
I have no idea whether MMS is the only union within the Department of the Interior. I sincerely doubt that that's correct, and I actually do not know what the union rules might be, but MMS has rules for how much inspectors work and how much they travel.
So you don't know if there's a limit on how much you're allowed to make them work or inspect within a given time?
They're subject to civil service regulations, sir.
Right. And as I understand, the proposal is to divide your agency and basically we'll get twice the government for twice the price. Is that what you understand?
I believe that Secretary Salazar has identified what is an inherent conflict in the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act, which requires MMS both to promote the orderly development of offshore oil and gas resources and guarantee environmental and human safety. What he has suggested is that the existing structure be divided so that actually there will be three entities. The royalty management system, which is already separate within MMS, would move into the Assistant Secretary for Policy Management and Budget. The offshore safety requirements would move into a new Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, which would comprise some of the current employees of MMS, and a separate bureau also under the Assistant Secretary for Land and Minerals Management with the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, which would comprise another group of the employees within MMS. That is an effort to separate those deal with that inherent tension and separate those roles.
You mentioned that before already, and I appreciate your answers, and I see apparently our solution when something doesn't work is divide it into three and make it bigger, so thank you.